into our current worldview. So how should they be integrated? Well, you're a fool if you play with psychedelics. You know, what did Carl Jung say? Beware of unearned wisdom. That's pretty damn smart. So you don't play with them. If you're inclined to experiment, then you should treat them with respect. You should go into the experience with the expectation and the desire that your life that you will learn something, painful as that's going to be, and that your life will be transformed in a positive direction. And you should pray to whatever gods you worship that they don't rip you apart. You know, and then maybe you'll be sensible enough to learn something, and you'll be able to bring it back from the underworld, and you'll be able to integrate it into your life carefully, and you'll be a better person as a consequence. But be careful what you hope for. I don't even have the conscientiousness to sit down and do self-authoring. I bought it over a year ago and haven't opened it. What the hell is wrong with me? Well, lots of things probably, because there's lots of things wrong with everybody. But let's not go right for the jugular, you know. Let's assume that the problem is relatively simple before we assume that your character is beyond salvage, which is also something I would recommend if you're arguing with your wife or your husband or your partner, you know. Assume that their character can be salvaged. It's a good way to start the argument. So I would say, why don't you have a smaller goal? You know, so if you notice that you're not doing something, I'm not doing the self-authoring program. Well, maybe it's daunting to you, you know, or maybe you're not very disciplined, or maybe both, or maybe 6 other things. Who knows, right? Maybe you're angry that you spent money on it. There could be any number of reasons. Maybe you don't want a better life. Maybe there are things in your past you don't want to look into. Maybe you're afraid of your personality. Maybe you're terrified of the future and you don't want to think about it. God, any of those things could be true. But what you want to do is first notice that you're not doing it. It's like, oh, I'm not doing this. Well, I must be going about it wrong. Well, it's sort of the definition of wrong, right? If you're trying to do something and you're not doing it, then you're doing it wrong. That's for sure by your own definition. So let's say, well, if you're trying to do something difficult and you're not doing it, well, you could beat yourself with a stick until you do it, or you could hire someone else to do it, you know, metaphorically speaking, or even maybe really if you want to do it. But barring that, the next best thing is to aim at something lower. Obviously, you're too useless to do the self-authoring program. Okay. Ask yourself, sit on the edge of your bed and say, okay, I think I'd like to try this self-authoring program. Is there some step I could take towards that I would do? I would say, well, maybe you could think, well, what do I have to do to do it? Well, I have to find my username and password. Then I have to open the web. No, I have to turn on my computer. I have to look in my email. I have to find my username and password. I have to find the site. I have to open the site. Then I have to enter the username and password in. And then I have to start reading it. Okay, so then you think, you got to walk through it like it's a simulation. Which of those things are you unwilling to do? You can ask yourself, am I willing to go turn my computer on? Yes.
What computer?
Am I willing to open my email? Yes.
What email?
Am I willing to search through my email for the username and password? Well, I'm a bit worried about that because I bought it a year ago. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to find the username and password. Okay. Do you think you can handle that potential disappointment and frustration? Yes. I could do that for 10 minutes. Okay, you could always buy it again if you lost it, right? If you really want to do it. It's not that big a deal. Okay, so it looks like I'll turn on the computer. I'll sit down, I'll turn on the computer, open my email. I'll look for the username and password, and I'll buy it if I can't find it. That's a possibility. Will you actually do those things? Like, would you do them right now? Yeah, I think I'd do that. Would you also put the username and password into the program itself? Well,